Welcome, my dear students. I am your course instructor Nabya Nehal from ITM University Gwalior. Today I am going to prepare a video lecture for BSc Agriculture third year 5th semester student. Course code is Biochem BT 311 and course title is Principles of Food Science and Nutrition. And today I am covering the fat food composition of chemistry of fats from unit 2. These are the basic outlines on which we are going to focus in this video lecture. So first let's start with the first, that is the fats is an organic molecule which is a very essential part of our body, and they are stored in the adipose tissue. They are present beneath the skin and prevent body from cold, and the term came here, that is the insulation. Fat can also protect our nerves, organs such as brains, heart, and liver, and it also present around the joints that acts as a lubricants, and it helps in the movement smoothly. Apart from this, it also helps to absorb essential vitamins, and it can convert other molecules like the prostaglandins. Fats are basically composed of the three carbon atom backbone, that is the glycerol. Here you can see it, it is a glycerol with three carbon atom, and three fatty acid molecules are attached with glycerol to make the triglycerides. In this, when the OH group of glycerol molecules are binds to the hydrogen atoms from the fatty acids, the water molecules get released, and these two molecules are linked up and form the triglyceride. In the same way, when the one molecule of fatty acid are linked with the glycerol, the same process of removal of water happen, and the one fatty acid are linked with glycerol to make the monoglyceride. When the two fatty acid are linked with the glycerol, they make the diglyceride. As I told before, that fatty acids are required in the human nutrition as a source of energy and for the metabolic and the structural activities. Around 15 to 20% of body weight in men are fats, and in women around 18 to 25% of body weight are fats. And there are some sources of fats such as the animal fats, as we all know that whatever the milk products we have taken, like the butter, ghee, these are the animal fats. And the vegetable oils, like the olive oil that we are generally use in our kitchen, sunflower oil, palm oil, these are the vegetable oils in which fats are present, and through which we intake the fat in our daily life. Vegetable oils generally come under the polyunsaturated fatty acids. So let's start with the division of fatty acids. The fatty acids are categorized on the basis of the bonds that are connected to the carbon atoms in the chain. So on the basis of bonds, the first one is the saturated fatty acid, and the second one is the unsaturated fatty acid. In the saturated fatty acid, as we can see here in the diagram, the saturated fatty acid are, the general formula is the this is the COH. It means it is a carboxylic acid, carboxyl group, on which R means the number of carbon atoms. So here in the saturated fatty acid, this is the carboxyl group on which the R are attached, means number of carbon atoms. What happen in the saturated fatty acid? All the carbon atoms are linked together with a single bond. Here we can see that the carbon atoms are linked with the single bond, and these are basically the dietary fats through which we can consume the saturated fatty acids are the meats, cheese, dairy products, cakes, chocolates, etc. On the basis of chain length, these are the chains. So the numbering start from here, that the carbon atoms 1 2 3 4 5 6, in this way. These are the chains. On the basis of chain length, they are further classified into the four subclasses. So the shortest chain fatty acids and the length are around 3 to 7 carbon atoms. In the medium chain fatty acids, around 8 to 13 carbon atoms are linked together. In long chain fatty acids, around 14 to 20 carbon atoms are linked together. And in a very long chain fatty acids, around 21 or more carbon atoms are present. The saturated fatty acids form a straight carbon chain, and saturated fatty acids are solid at the room temperature because of the presence of single bond and presence of hydrogen. As many as single bonds are present between the carbon molecules, the the vacant bonds are connected with the hydrogen bond, and helps to solid at room temperature. In the unsaturated fatty acids, in this the fatty acids has one or more double bonds, and they are also characterized on the basis of the chain length. Like the short chain unsaturated fatty acids, they contain around 19 carbon atoms. Long chain unsaturated fatty acids contain 20 to 24 carbon atoms, and a very long chain unsaturated fatty acid contain 25 or more carbon atoms. These are the structures of unsaturated fatty acids. The unsaturated fatty acids are further classified on the basis of the double bond. Like we can see here in the monounsaturated fatty acid, there is a, in the whole chain there is only a one carbon double bond carbon. There is we can see here only a single double bond, and in the polyunsaturated fatty acid, here we can see two double bond are present in between the carbon atoms. So we can define monounsaturated fatty acid, carbon atoms are linked together with the single double bonds, and they are generally found in the red meat, nuts, high fats fruits such as the avocados and the olive oil. And the polyunsaturated fatty acids, in this the carbon atoms are linked together with two or more double bonds. It means I have represented the diagram has shown only two double bonds, but it is more than two, and they are generally found in the fish, walnuts, seed, including the sunflower and sesame seed. So because of the presence of these double bond between them, as we see here that the hydrogen molecules are less in compared to the saturated fatty acid. Only that's the reason why the triglyceride of the unsaturated fatty acids do not pack tightly, and that's the reason they are liquid at the room temperature, just because of the presence of the hydrogen atoms. The polyunsaturated fatty acids are further classified into three types, and the omega 3, which is also called as the N3, right? Omega 6, N6, or omega 9 is the N9. omega 3, in this the first double bond are present at the third carbon atoms, and these are the examples like the alpha linoleic acid, which we can decode it as the ALA, ecosa pentanoic acid EPA, docosa hexanoic acid DHA. In the same way, in what happened in the omega 6, the position of first carbon for the position of first double bond are at the sixth carbon atom, and linoleic acid and the arachidonic acid are the examples. And omega 9 are actually an example of mono unsaturated fatty acid, in which the double bonds are at the ninth carbon atom, and oleic acid are the best example. The omega 3 and omega 6, in which the linolenic acid and the linoleic acid are called as the essential fatty acids. Now what happened in the omega 3? The EPA, that is the ecosa pentanoic acid, and the DHA, that is the docosa hexanoic acid, these both are highly enriched from the marine source, that is the microalgae that can produce these two fatty acids, and especially the fish such as the salmon fish, sardines, and anchovies. These are the fish that are highly enriched with these two fatty acids, whereas the alpha linolenic acid, these are basically found in plants like the flaxseed, walnuts, canola, and the soybean oils. Here the concept is like that our body that can convert the alpha linolenic acid into the EPA and DHA, but it cannot convert it into a sufficient form. It means their yields are very small in quantity, and that's why these are recommended in to take through a diet. In the omega 6 fatty acids, the linoleic acid are basically found in oils like the safflower, corn, and the soybean oils, whereas the arachidonic acid are generally found in the from the animal source like the fish, meat, and eggs. And our body can convert the linoleic acid into the arachidonic acid, but the process is insufficient, so we have to obtain these two fatty acids from our diet, and that's the reason these are considered as the essential fatty acids. The omega 9 fatty acid, oleic acid are the example, and the oleic acid are made by our own body, and the main source of the oleic acid is the canola and the olive oil, as well as we can take olive acid from the almonds. Next, the unsaturated fatty acid are further classified on the basis of their configuration. Configuration means the pattern or the configuration means the pattern through which the carbon molecules or their further bonds are arranged. So they are classified in the cis bond and the trans bond, and we can also say it as a cis and trans fat, cis fat and trans fat. As we can see here, this is the cis unsaturated fatty acid structure. In this we can see that cis means the same. In this we can see that both the hydrogen molecules, both the hydrogen atoms are present on the same direction, and in the trans unsaturated fatty acid, here we can see that the hydrogen molecules or hydrogen atoms are on the different side. So on the basis of their configuration, These are categorized. Generally, the unsaturated fatty acid forms the cis type of bond, and here a term comes, that is the hydrogenation. What happens in the hydrogenation? It is a process in which the hydrogen atoms are added onto the oils. In generally, we can remember that hydrogenation is a process in which we can remove the double bonds. Basically, the unsaturated fatty acids can be converted into the saturated fatty acid in the process of through the process of hydrogenation. In this, the physical and the chemical properties of the fats are changed because the double bonds are converted into the single bond. That's the reason why their physical and chemical properties are changed. Mostly the unsaturated fatty acids, as I have already said, that they follow the cis configuration. Cis configuration means the bent. Here we can say it is slightly bent, and these are the linear or the straight chain. So the unsaturated fatty acid are bent, but after the hydrogenation process, the hydrogen molecules are remove the double bond, and the configuration of fats are changed in the trans forms, that is the linear forms. And after the completion of this process, the trans fatty acids are starts behave like a saturated fatty acid. So this is a small description about the hydrogenation, which is a very important term in the fats. These are the basic functions of fats in the food products. So the first one is the aeration, second one is the flakiness, third is the coating, fourth one is the coating for crumbly texture, fourth one is the glazing, fifth is the moisture retention, next is heat transfer, next is plasticity. So let's start one by one. What happened in the aeration? The products such as the we generally know that the cakes and mousses, they need air to incorporate in the mixture, and for the fermentation process, for that's the reason why the texture will rise well. For that, the bubbles of airs traps in between the fat sugar mixture, and it will form a stable foam. Next is the flakiness. In this process, the fat helps to separate the layers of the gluten and the starch that are formed in the dough when making the flaky of the, or the, we can say, the puff pastry or the biscuits. And in this case, the fat melts during the cooking, and leave a little air pockets, like while the liquid produces steams that gets evaporated and causes the layers to rise. Next is the coating. In this, a crumbly structure, I am talking about a the like a pastry or biscuits, sometimes are look the texture looks like a crumbly, and the texture are achieved of the pastry and biscuits just because of the fats that are shortened and the coating of the flour particles to prevent them from absorbing water. What happen in the glazing? In this process, the fat gives a glossy appearance to food, such as the shining of the sauces. Moisture retention. In this, fat helps to retain products moisture content, and therefore the shelf life of that product will increase. Heat transfer: in a deep frying process, the food is completely surrounded by the frying fat, which acts as an efficient heat transfer medium. As we see that we have, when we have to fry something, when we have to deep fry, then we use basically fats such as the ghee, butter, etc. So in this process the heat transfer medium are suitable. Next is the plasticity. In this, the solid fats that do not melt immediately, but it will soften over a range of temperature. As we increase the temperature, it will soft, and the fats can be processed, and it can be rearranged the fatty acids and alter their melting points. And this is basically used to produce spreads and cheese that is spread straight from the fridge. So these are the basic functions of fats in food products. Now come to the point, what are the adverse effect of excess intake of fats. So as we all know that sometimes what happen if we take excess fat, the it will deposit it to our, it will be bad for our health, and such as it can cause the diabetes. And there are two types of fats, such as the polyunsaturated fatty acids are comes under the good fats, like the vegetable oils, nuts and seeds. And they helps people to they helps people from the prevention of the diseases like the diabetes, and like the heart disease, cancer. These are the general factors. Basically what happened, these there are two types of lipoproteins that are present, like the low density lipoproteins and the high density lipoproteins. The low density lipoproteins are basically stored in our nearby the portion of heart, that can cause the, that are the main reason of the heart attack and the heart stroke. Cholesterol, here comes the term cholesterol. Cholesterol is a substance that are produced from our livers, and cholesterol is also present in some of the food. Basically the animal cell requires cholesterol to maintain their cell membranes, and it is transported in the bloods by the lipoproteins. So there are two lipoproteins, the low density lipoproteins and the high density lipoproteins. The low density lipoproteins are the main cholesterol carriers in the blood streams. But in this case, if the level of low density lipoproteins becomes too high, then they starts collect on the walls of the blood vessels. And if the higher LDL levels are deposited on the blood vessels, then it then the level of cholesterol will increase, and it increase the chances of heart related diseases. Whereas the high density lipoprotein, it helps transport of cholesterol back to the liver, and the high HDL levels are good for the health. So the saturated fatty acid are considered as a bad fats because they increase the levels of LDL in the blood streams, and that makes a sensible case. Whereas the monounsaturated fatty acids, they work just opposite to the saturated fatty acid. They lowers the level of LDL in the blood, and they helps to maintain the HDL levels. They improve the HDL to the total blood cholesterol ratio. That's why we consider monounsaturated fatty acid and polyunsaturated fatty acids are beneficial to our health. In the same way, the polyunsaturated fatty acid, they are good for our health because the LDL, the blood level of LDL are low, and the quantity of high density lipoproteins are high in the polyunsaturated fatty acids. That's the reason the linoleic acid and the linolenic acid are considered as the essential fatty acids. So these are the basic description about the fats, their classes, and their functions of fats in the food products, and the diseases related to the fats. Here I am giving a short exercises, as we all know that the our body are not consumed fat, but the triglycerides are directly not consumed. It may be converted. So it is a short exercise that I hope you will do. How our body can consume saturated and unsaturated fatty acids. These are the learning outcomes. I hope you will understand the concept of dietary fats, their classifications, their functions in our food, and what happen if we excess intake the fats, especially the what happens uh, when the low density lipoproteins are deposited in their our blood, in the wall of blood streams. These are the references from where I have taken the study material. If you want to learn more, then you will go through the sites. Thank you.